Okay, I think we'll get started. So this is lecture 3, going through this paper that my students wrote on partitioning, using group theory to partition any integer into any number of members of a set. So we've been using the triangle numbers as some examples, but now we're going to be talking about this in general. So we're talking about any set here that is non-degenerate, meaning no repeated items in a row, and then non-negative, increasing non-negative integers. So we've been using the triangle numbers. So S could be the triangle numbers, S could be the square numbers, etc. So we don't, in none of this are we going to actually put the details of the set. Okay. Well, let's recover now this idea that we talked about before in lecture 1, and that is that of a generating function. So this capital Psi sub S will be the generating function for this set, and we're simply going to represent it as a power series with Q raised to the sequential elements of that set. One thing to note here, we'll also be looking at powers of Q. So if we introduce Q to the lambda, okay, well that just plugs in Q to the lambda here, and then by properties of exponents, it essentially multiplies each member of the set by lambda. So it multiplies that exponent. Now, we're going to need to use products of the generating function with the arguments raised to various powers. And it turns out what's going to be really important is ones where we have Q to the lambda and then the whole function raised to the nu, such that the sum of the product of lambda and nu is equal to m. Okay, so m's the number of integers we're trying to partition into. So we've been utilizing m equals 2 and or m equals 3 and m equals 4 as good examples, and that will be the case here too. So what are we going to do? We are going to construct the different ways that we can get this result. So we can have q to the 1 times raised to the third power here, so that's going to be 1 times 3, and that equals 3 already, so that's enough for that guy. This is going to be 2 to the 1, so that's 2, and 1 to the 1, that's 1. So 2 plus 1 is going to equal 3, and so we get that there. And then this is q to the 3, right, to the 1, and so that's 3 times 1, which is 3. Okay, so that these all add up such that the addition, this sum is always equal to 3 in this case here. Okay, well, let's look at 4 just to get a feel for this. You'll want to maybe pause the video and make sure you kind of understand where these are coming from and how we're matching this. But here we have 1 times 4 is 4. Good. Here's 3 times 1 plus 1 times 1. That's 4. Here's 2 times 2 is 4. Here's 4 times 1. And here's 1 times 2 and plus 2 times 1. So in all cases, this equals 4. And you might be able to see that this is, it feels like it's definitely going to be related to the integer partitions of M, and we saw that the integer partitions of M were equal to the conjugacy classes, could represent the conjugacy classes. And so that's going to bring us to Theorem 2.1 in the paper, and this is establishing that isomorphism that we alluded to last lecture, that the conjugacy classes, we showed that they could be related to the Young's tableaus, but now the important part is this bit here, is looking at connecting them to one of these terms here. that have these products. And we're not going to prove this rigorously here. We're just going to kind of give a feel for things. But the basic idea in the general sense is that if we have a structure like this, the lambda is going to fix, it's going to lock a certain number of terms so they can't be permuted. And then the nu is going to is permuting the number of terms. Right? And this isn't going to make sense quite yet, probably, until we see an example. But this is going to ultimately determine the cycle type. And if we determine the cycle type, we determine the conjugacy classes. So there's going to be a link between how we write this and the conjugacy class for the group of order, the symmetry group of order M. Let's use m equals 4. It has a little bit more rich examples here. And you can maybe try to do this, repeat this with m equals 3 and see if you can see that it makes sense. All right, so let's just take this term here. We're not going to do all of these. We're going to do this one. We're going to do this one. We're going to do this one. And then we're going to do this one here. So if we write this, that's going to end up in 4 independent sums, right? Because we're taking sum times sum times sum times sum with independent indices. So indices, and this should write this a little better. J1, J2, J3, and J4. And ultimately, we're going to have terms like this, where these all run independently. And so we're going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, and then all permutations of those are going to show up in this big infinite sum, but countably infinite. So we can label each term, and there'll be a term that has the 4 in order, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1 and 2 switched. And so we're going to get, hopefully you can see that we're going to get 4 factorial permutations of this precise power showing up in these in the sum. And the same would be true with everything else, right? Okay. Now let's look at the kind of the opposite case here, where we have the generating function and then q to the 4. That's going to leave just a single independent sum, and we're going to get 4 times that set. So that's coming from this idea over here. So, oops, this should be a 4. And notice we're going to get just one term of this, or we could kind of think of it as 1 factorial, but it's easier to see. We're just going to get one term because for each j, because we only have one independent dummy variable here. So we're only going to pull out one. There's only going to be one term that's going to be 4s. And just a little foreshadowing. There will be a case where this is 1, 1, 1, 1. Right? So that would be equal to 4s. And so we'll see that terms that appear here will be terms in here, but there will be many of terms here that don't appear in this sum. Let's take a little bit more elaborate example here now. This is going to be generating function q squared and then generating function of q squared. And that means we're going to get 2 independent variables from this squaring, then a 3rd independent dummy variable from this one. And so we'll have sj1 plus sj2 plus 2 coming from this, coming from this, 2 times sj3. So that's going to lock in one independent variable out of this set. So if we look at some terms, we're going to get s1, s2, s, and then 2 times s3. And we'll get like s2, s1 times s3. And we're going to get then 2 factorial terms. We're just going to get 2 terms like this, the 2 factorial as we flip those indices. Notice again, this term will appear as one of these, because this would be S1, S2, and then S3, S3. These would be locked together. So in a sense, we can see here now what this means. The lambda will fix the number of terms there. It locks those together. Okay, so what does this do? Well, this establishes then this connection between what these powers are doing, lambda and nu, right, to what is allowed to cycle through these. So we can attach a conjugacy class to each one of these possible terms, right? And so we can then, and again, we haven't, this is just kind of looking at it in terms of some examples and seeing where the terms are coming from. So we aren't, this is a little hand wavy here, but what we've done now is we can see that there's a connection between the cycle type and these, right? Because these can cycle through, for example, here, these can cycle through 2, but 1 is locked. Here, they can cycle through all of them. And so we get this connection. And so we can see here that this cycle type is given or is isomorphic to this one. So we've got this and this. And then here, the opposite end, that's like 4, right? And that's like this one. And likewise, here, we've got 2 and 1. And so that's these. So we can connect all of these factors to conjugacy classes in the symmetric group. So what you might want to do is see if you can connect these three, right? These three to here. Okay? And the recipe for that then is if we have a conjugacy class of, say, like A, B, then we would write psi S Q to the A, and then the whole thing raised to the B. So let's try that with this one here. 1, 2, 2, 1. So we take this guy, this one will become psi Q squared, and then this one will be another factor. That'll be psi 2 to the 1. And that's what we see right here. So there's a recipe now for connecting the product state of these generated functions with the conjugacy classes. All right, we're going to use this now to do our counting. And so the next video, we're going to talk about the main theorem of the paper, where we give a formula in terms of these. And so the idea here is we can write these to express the number of partitions, and since they're connected to the conjugacy classes, then we can use some of the group theory properties. Namely, we're going to be able to use the characters for the trivial group and the signed group trivial represent irrep and the signed irrep to give us the formula for the partition and the distinct partition into of numbers into these sets. All right, so that's it for now, and we'll come back then and look at the main theorem next time.